You drink every single night, but you never get drunk. So it's not really a problem, right? You're controlled, you're functional. You never embarrass yourself or wake up with regrets. But I need to tell you about Tom. Tom used to drink 2 beers every single night for the last 6 years. Never more, never less, the same time, the same routine. And Tom was actually proud of his control. I'm not like those guys who get wasted on the weekends, he'd say. I'm responsible, I'm consistent. But by the end of this video, you'll understand why Tom's controlled drinking was actually worse than the guys who get drunk every weekend. Because here's what Tom discovered. He wasn't controlling alcohol, alcohol was controlling him. When Tom first contacted me, he was very defensive. He didn't think he belonged in a conversation about alcohol problems because in his mind, he didn't have one. Emma, I have 2 beers every night after work. That's it. I don't get drunk, I don't black out, I don't miss work, I don't embarrass myself. What's the problem? And I asked him a question that made him uncomfortable. Tom, if you can control your drinking, why can't you control not drinking? And he laughed it off. Like, what do you mean? I could stop anytime, I just don't want to. And that's when I realized that Tom was living in what I call a control illusion. He thought he was wearing these corrective lenses by choice, but when actually his vision had become so dependent on them that he'd forgotten what normal sight looked like. And I challenged Tom. I told him to prove it. Stop tonight, don't drink. And Tom responded like, why would I do that? I've had a really stressful day, I need to unwind. Need. That is the word that hung in the air between us. And Tom agreed to skip one night, just to prove the point. One night without his 2 beers, how hard could it be? And that evening he sent me an email and he said it's so weird because he kept thinking about those beers. Not because he wanted to get drunk, because he never got drunk, but just because he just didn't know what to do with himself without those 2 beers. How would he transition from work mode? How would he unwind? What does he do with his hands? And Tom said he was pacing around his apartment for hours, trying to figure out how to relax without his nightly routine. He said he felt anxious, not because he was craving alcohol, but because he literally didn't remember how to end the day without a drink. And he said that's when it hit him. For 6 years, Tom hadn't been relaxing. He'd simply been medicating. His brain had simply outsourced the ability to unwind to a bottle of beer. And the next morning, I spoke with Tom. His voice was very different. And he said, Emma, I couldn't sleep, not because I was craving alcohol, but because my brain literally didn't know how to shut down without the chemical help, without those 2 beers. And that's when Tom understood what had really been happening for those 6 years. His brain had stopped producing the natural relaxation chemicals because alcohol showed up every single day to do that job instead. It's like having somebody else to do your work for so long that you forget how to do it yourself. And he said, I thought I was managing my stress with those 2 beers, but he wasn't managing anything. He was just postponing the stress until the next day. Every day pushing the stress down with alcohol instead of actually processing it. And his brain had just forgotten how to relax on its own. And that's when we dug deeper into what Tom's controlled drinking actually was controlling. His entire evening routine revolved around those 2 beers. His stress management strategy was alcohol. His transition from work to home required chemical assistance. His sleep was artificially induced. His weekends were planned around maintaining his nightly routine. Everything in Tom's life had been organized around those 2 beers that he never got drunk from and that he was in control of, right? And Tom realized that he wasn't in control of anything. Those 2 beers were controlling his stress, controlling his evenings, controlling his sleep, controlling his social life. And that's when Tom realized the most insidious part. His normal wasn't actually normal anymore. His fine was alcohol assisted. His relaxed was chemically induced. He'd been running his entire emotional life on chemical loans instead of natural profit. And it looked stable from the outside until he tried to function without it. And so Tom decided to test his actual control, not his imagined control. 30 days without his nightly glasses, 30 days of letting his brain remember how to see clearly, 30 days of letting his brain learn how to relax on its own again. And the first week was tough. Not because he was craving alcohol, but because he was relearning the basic life skills, how to process stress, how to transition from work to home, how to unwind naturally. And he said it felt like physical therapy for his brain. He had to retrain muscles that he'd forgotten to use. And by day 14, something shifted in him. Tom's brain started producing its own relaxation chemicals again, his sleep started to improve, his stress tolerance increased, and his energy during the day was more consistent. And he said that he hadn't felt that clear in over 6 years. He forgot what feeling normal was actually like because he'd been so used to having those 2 beers every day. And today, Tom's evenings look completely different. He reads, he calls friends, he goes on walks. He actually processes his day instead of numbing from it. Real relaxation, real stress management, and real control. Not managed dependency disguised as discipline. Not chemical assistance rationalized as choice, but actual freedom from needing anything outside of himself to feel normal. And Tom realized that real control isn't needing something every single day and calling it a choice. Real control isn't managing your dependency better than other people manage theirs. Real control is not needing it at all. Now maybe you're sitting there thinking what Tom thought. I could stop at any time, I just don't want to. But I want you to ask yourself the same question I asked Tom. If you're really in control, why can't you control not drinking? If those nightly drinks are really a choice, try skipping tonight, just one night, and see how it feels. See if your brain remembers how to unwind without the chemical assistance. Because if the thought of skipping one night makes you feel uncomfortable, you just prove that you're not in control of alcohol. It's actually controlling your ability to relax, to unwind, and to feel normal. You're not the guy who settles for managed dependency and calls it control. You're not the guy who needs chemical training wheels every night and pretends it's healthy. If you're ready to test your actual control, not your imagined control, I've created a free training called How to Get Full Control Over Alcohol. The link is in the description below. And this isn't about losing control, this is about getting real control back. This is about your brain remembering how to relax, how to unwind, and how to feel normal without needing help from a bottle every single night. Because what you call controlled drinking might actually be controlled by drinking. And the only way to know the difference is to take off the glasses and see if you can still see clearly. Are you ready to find out what real control looks like?